Hey everybody, my name is Jordanne Erichsen. I am the founder and one of the voice teachers at Express Voice Studio in Montreal, Quebec. So one of the things that I specialize in is bringing an awareness of your body to your practice. And this is great for singers in particular, but any musician, actor, or everyday person. So what Alexander technique is not is, even though it's extremely meditative, we're not looking to relax ourselves into a state of sleep. We're actually looking to move into an active rest. So we're doing work, but without tensing things. Tension is the death of all good sound, all good playing, all good movement. Obviously, there is a component of when I lift up a weight or a dish or a box, I'm tensing something. But if our habit is to tense in a way that is causing extra tension throughout our body, especially our neck and our back, that's never going to aid you in being able to do these things without fatiguing your body. So think of the 80-year-old you. Do you want to be able to move in a healthy way without being in pain all the time and walking like this? I think so. Our habits in our body are like really set concrete. Often we're not even aware of them because we've lived with them our entire lives. And so you're practicing and you're going about your day and you can't hit that high note and you can't play that phrase and you can't wash your dishes without feeling some kind of constriction in your body. A lot of piano players develop pain all up through their arms from bad use. A lot of singers will have really intense jaw movement that's not necessary for sound production, or extreme pain in their throat, or not able to get their breath lower than their chest. So in these sessions, I'm going to work with you through basic Alexander technique directions in order to move your body towards releasing this habitual tension and finding an active rest position from which you can work on your music, you can work on projecting your voice, you can just sit at a computer desk all day and feel like you're 6 years old and amazing. It is very important when you do this work not to demand a result from your body, because when you do this, you're going to act from a place of impulse, and likely whatever result you produce, whether you think it's good or bad, is going to be born from a bad habit. Instead, when I do this work, I just invite myself to react to it, and I trust that even if the change is super small and I don't really notice it at first, that it is happening. Just like how when I ask myself to open my eyes, they just open. I don't have to overthink it. So we're going to invite things to release and not force it. So you need some books to begin with. We have to experiment, so you'll need to pause the video here and see what size of books that you want. For me, this is about 1 inch. It would be a little bit too short, and this one is better for me. So when you place it down on your mat, and I'm doing this on a yoga mat, you can do it on a carpet, whatever, you're gonna put your head on it, and I want you to make sure that your neck is not being forced so that your head is down like this. We don't want to squish this part of your chin, but it also shouldn't be so short that you're tilting very far back. It should just feel comfortable, like it's allowing your neck and your head to be even with your shoulders. So go ahead and take a second to do that. Okay, let's start. So your book is here. This is where we're gonna put our head. In a later video, I'm gonna talk about the best, most efficient way for good use of your body to get to the floor without scrunching everything in your body, especially your neck. But for today, just find a way to get there that isn't rushed, because when we rush, that's when our habits click in like that. I like to put my hand down and really feel the connection to the back of my shoulder so that my neck doesn't have to tighten. And I take my legs out, always aware of the length of my arm, and come down like so. Turn yourself over. There we go. I want your knees to be facing the ceiling. This is called semi-supine position in Alexander technique. Your feet are on the mat, completely flat. The soles of my feet and the balls of my feet are just really nice and resting, and my legs are straight out to my hips. So If you can only, keep your legs here, or they have to be super in for you to be comfortable, that's okay. It's your starting spot. Just know that where you want to end up eventually is your legs in line with your hips. If you got down here and you notice that one hip is higher than the other, just do a little bit of a bridge yoga pose here. Be aware of the weight going into your feet and the projection up through your head, and you're just going to lift up a little bit and adjust very gently. We want those hips to be nice and even. Now both of your hands are going to come on your stomach like this. You should feel your shoulder blades in contact with the ground, the mat underneath you. And your neck is not scrunched forward, it's not tipping back, it's just resting right there. This is where I start all of my warm-ups from. I do this after working out, after doing yoga. It's really restorative and a great place just to meditate. So even if you don't give yourself any directions and you just hang out here, oh my goodness, you are doing wonders for your body. I know some people that sleep here, so just think about that. So the first thing I'm going to do is walk you through the foundational directions of Alexander technique. Keeping in mind, we're not forcing, we're just inviting. So allow the neck to be free. Allow the neck to be free. Allow the neck to be free so that the head can come forward and up. I'm not moving anything here. I'm not trying to place my head forward and up. I'm just aware that my forward is this way towards the ceiling, and my up is this way behind my head. So I think of sending my head that way through the relaxation of my neck. So as we add on directions here, don't forget any stage. You have to remember where you came from. So we allowed our neck to be free. Allow the neck to be free for the head to come forward and up. I like to give a few breaths between every direction just to give my body time to react to it, because those tensions are so tight that it's like my body is figuring out, oh, I can do that. So we allow the neck to be free. Neck to be free for the head to come forward and up. Neck to be free for the head to come forward and up. To allow the back to lengthen and widen in all directions. Now, often when we think of our back, the first place we think about is our upper back between our shoulder blades. And yes, that is super important. That is part of your back. But I also want you to bring to your mind's eye your lower back. So we allow the neck to be free. Neck to be free for the head to come forward and up. To allow the back to lengthen and widen in all directions in relationship to the lower back. I'm just going to take some time repeating that to myself in my head. And it's okay if you have your eyes closed here or open, but try not to always have them closed, because in reality, in your day-to-day life, in your practice, you have your eyes open, and we want to make sure that they're alive, they're not fixated on one point, because otherwise we have eye tension. And especially if you're someone who works on stage as an actor or a singer, you're going to be that person that has scary eyes because you're so focused on what's going on inside your body. So we have alive eyes, not crazy eyes. So let's take some time just to go through that. I'll walk you through it again and then give you some breaths to do it on your own. Allow the neck to be free. Allow the neck to be free, for the head to come forward and up. Neck to be free, for the head to come forward and up, to allow the back to lengthen and widen in all directions. Keeping in my mind my lower back also lengthening along the spine and widening simultaneously. Now you go on your own. Remember to breathe, and without changing anything, remember we're not looking to force anything. Pay attention to how your breath changes as you go through these directions. For me, I always feel like my breath is stuck in my chest until I've been able to release things. So I really notice as I go through these directions that I feel my back expanding as I breathe in. And there's no tension anymore in this part of my chest. Just notice what's there for you. So the first step as someone doing this on their own is to pay attention to what feels tight in your body as you're breathing. There was a time where the muscles at the front of my neck would become very tight as I breathed in. And over a month or so, I felt that that wasn't the case anymore. You might also find that the sides of your ribcage feel like they don't want to expand, which probably means that in your day-to-day life, you're collapsing there. So look at how you sit at your desk. Look at how you sleep. Where in your life are you encouraging that collapse, that you could bring these directions into your day-to-day life and change that? Okay. Keeping everything that we've just done in mind, we're just going to bring the lower body into our mind's eye. So when we think of where our legs start, we usually think of our hip socket. And that leads to, especially singers and actors who are trying to utilize their breath, feeling like they're chopped off from their lower body. So let's change that. Feel the contact of the bottom of your feet against whatever you're laying on. Make sure you're not gripping anything. We just want an even awareness of the front of your feet, the balls, and the soles. Now we measure the tips of your toes to your ankles. Measure the tips of your toes to your ankles, to your knees. Tips of the toes to the ankles, to the knees, to the hip socket. Tips of the toes to the ankles, to the knees, all the way past the hip socket to the actual top of the hip, which is basically in line with your belly button. Now you have the real whole length of your legs in your mind's eye. So as you take your next breath in, we're going to release our hip socket. Keep breathing there and keep inviting your hip socket to release into the length of your leg, which exists from the bottom of your feet all the way past your ankles, past your shins, past your knees, past your hip socket, to the top of the hip. A lot of my students, when they breathe in, there is a really strong tightening in their hips. So if you think of where your diaphragm is and where you breathe, that needs to be malleable enough to let go so that you can get an actual deep breath. This may not happen instantly for you. These habits are extremely strong. So just keep going through these directions and be kind to your body. Where you are at today will not be where you're at a month from now, but it will be improvement from where you were 30 minutes ago. So that's what we want. Just take a few breaths there, renewing the image of how long your legs actually are. And overwhelm your brain with the message of inviting your hip socket to release. There's nothing else you need to think of except the length of your leg and the release of your hip socket. I want to bring my whole body back into this picture. So I'm going to go through the directions again. Allow the neck to be free. I can feel there was a little bit of tension that crept back in there, so it's good that I came back. Allow the neck to be free for the head to come forward and up. Allow the neck to be free for the head to come forward and up, to allow the back to lengthen and widen in all directions in relationship to your lower back. Renew the length of your legs and release your hip sockets into the length of your leg. You might want to move them back and forth just to see what that freedom feels like. There's no locking there. And on the next exhale, I want you to let it out on a and as you inhale, overwhelm your brain with all of those releases. For me, I like to really focus on releasing the length of my legs. But if you feel a ton of tension in your neck and your chest, you might want to keep repeating, allow my neck to be free, allow my neck to be free. You may want to send your mind's eye through this beautiful part of where your chest is here in the front, all the way through under your armpits, where your arm actually starts. There's this gorgeous bone that your whole sternum can just relax onto. So you don't have to hold your ribcage open, which is a huge misconception for singers and actors working on breath work. It's already open if you can release to it. So try overwhelming your mind with the idea of sifting through there from the back of your shoulder blades that's in contact with the mat all the way to the front, lengthening and widening through your back. I invite you to spend as much time as you want in this position. And when you come back, you roll over onto your side. Stay here. I have my hand in front of me. And when I push up, I have in my mind the direction projected out through my head and all the way past my butt through the wall there. And the length of my arm from my fingertips all the way to the back of my shoulder, so that when I push up, I'm not going like this, but I'm keeping all those directions in mind. And if you get here and you feel like your neck was tight, go back down. It's okay. Renew your directions above your head, past my butt, out through the wall. Feeling from my fingertips in contact with the mat to the back of my shoulder blade. And when I feel ready, I will go. You are the only person who can monitor these things for yourself. What I like to do when I'm in that semi-supine position, and if you're still there, that's awesome, is to begin making some sound. So if you haven't explored vocal fry, which is basically the sound the creature from the Grudge movie makes, try doing it in that position where everything is relaxed. And burped. What that sounds like is it's very gentle. You'll know you're not doing it right if you have some type of a consistent sound, like a pressure on it. I feel too much pressure here. It's not what I want. So I invite you to explore making those sounds. What is your breath doing when you do it? Does it get higher? Does it get lower? Where do you have tension? Write down afterwards in your journal what you're feeling, so that when you go into these exercises before your practice tomorrow, before you go to work today or tomorrow and every day, you can see what is shifting. As something releases in your body, something else will probably tighten. So you always have to keep that very alert awareness, that active rest in your mind. From here, as I go into my singing practice, I will continue to renew those directions even from a standing position. If this is your first day, just do it on the floor. Try singing on the floor. Don't try to sing whole arias. Use the first page, the first line as an experiment. I like to record what I'm doing, listen back, see what the sound sounds like, but I invite myself to be patient, that I'm not looking for a result right away. I hope that this is helpful. It's really changed the way that I've sung. I don't have any more tension in my throat when I'm speaking, and I feel like I'm in control of my body, that I am aware, and I don't get anxiety before going on stage, especially not after doing this kind of work that really puts you in your body. Thanks for watching, and I really hope it helps.